Welcome to the Association 4.0 podcast, your association's no-fluff playbook to navigating and thriving in Industry 4.0 or the digital marketplace. Each week, we bring expert insights to help you and your association stay ahead of the curve.
Hello, this is Jane Pearson, and I am talking today with Amy Williams. We are both consultants with marketing at orgSource. Hi, Amy.
Hi.
How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for hopping on the call and talking about AI.
Yes, I'm freaked out about AI, and I'm dying to talk to you about marketing with AI. So, off the top, to get started, what do you think are the top things marketers should be looking at right now with AI and using it to make their work more effective and efficient?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit of a double-edged sword, to be honest with you. I think it has application, but I think anybody who's using it should be treading lightly. So we need to keep in mind that AI is intended to be, it's a language model, not a knowledge model. And so I think we need to keep in mind that as we're using it, so let's just say, for example, you want to use AI to write a blog post, right? And it's iterative. So it's building, it can build on what you tell it to do, which is really cool, but it's also can be a little bit dangerous. So let me explain what I mean by that. So let's say you want to write a blog post and it spits one out for you and you're like, okay, now I need some citations to validate what you have just presented. You can't always trust the citations or the information that is presented through the AI platform. So, while yes, it can be a shortcut to getting you an article or content or what have you, you really still need to do your due diligence to validate the information that it's presenting to make sure it's accurate. And I think that's where some marketers will get in trouble, is they won't take that next step to validate the information that the AI presents.
Yeah, if somebody just Googles a phrase from your blog post, they might find somebody else's blog post that has that exact same language, right?
Well, and I think the other thing, so I've played around with it a little bit, and it's very formulaic in how it writes. So I can kind of tell when I'm reading posts if it was AI generated or, something that a human wrote. Or at least I could when it first came out, right? This is a technology that is growing and learning at such a rapid pace. It's astonishing.
On that topic of citations and that sort of thing, I think about intellectual property. If you're doing marketing research, you can put a lot of information in there, but if you put in proprietary information, that becomes the property of the internet.
Right.
That can be used elsewhere. And thus it makes it kind of a risk, right, for marketers. It's a shortcut, but it's also a risk.
Yeah. And that's where I think the human element, right? We've got to be mindful on how we're using it and really questioning what it presents, at least until, we understand it better. You look at how people are abusing it, and that is where I think for me, the red flags start to come up. Just before you and I hopped on this, we talked a little bit about the dangers of it. And I think people need to be aware of how AI is being abused so that they can at least put some safeguards up. It's certainly disrupting jobs. So let's talk about the disruption in the market first. I was reading an article where they talked about AI has the potential to eliminate 300 million jobs worldwide. And we're talking about jobs like customer service, graphic designers, traders, financial jobs, teachers, market research analysts, paralegals, legal assistants. In our world, in the media world, advertising, content creation, journalism, technical writing, but also in the tech space where coders, programmers, data analysts, software engineers, that's a whole lot of jobs. So just being mindful of, the importance of sort of monitoring this kind of technology and embracing it, right? We don't need to sit there and say, whoa, there's no space for this in marketing. I definitely think that it can be used, but I think it needs to be used in a mindful way, right? So we can, for example, if we're running short on blog ideas, right, you can go to the AI tool and say, give me an editorial calendar for next month and, give me an outline of what those blog posts should talk about. And it can spit that out. And I think in ways like that, it can be beneficial. Where I think people need to be careful is in understanding and keeping an eye on how it's being abused. So we're seeing it in art, music, schools, right? Kids are using it to write essays and on papers. I mentioned to you, there was a fake kidnapping story in the news. I've seen it used to create music with some big name artists, where people can lift their voice and use it to generate a song. And some artists are already talking about, hey, they'd be happy to split, royalties 50-50 with somebody who does that. And there are others who disagree, but it's really fascinating to see how much has changed in such a short time from when this first became public to where we're at now. And even I've mentioned to you that there was an article, I believe it was on CNN, that cited the godfather of AI just quit Google because he says he regrets his life work because it's hard to stop bad actors from using it for bad things. So if Geoffrey Hinton, the tech pioneer who was sort of the powerhouse behind AI, is saying, hey, there are dangers here, then we need to listen.
Absolutely. Thinking about associations, though, that we mostly work with, where a lot of our customers have marketing departments where everybody's wearing all the hats.
Yeah.
I was thinking when I first started thinking about its ramifications for marketing, I was thinking about my first marketing job, which was marketing events. Part of it was in person. I was going to street fairs and marketing the little web company I worked for. But a lot of marketing events is formulaic, right? Like you have the early, you save the date, then you have the early bird pricing, then you have the keynote announcement, and all of that can be generated by AI. Which at first I was like, well, what would I have done? What would I have done for my first job? But at the same time, I was kind of like, wow, imagine having time to think. Imagine having time to brainstorm and be strategic. And maybe when I was 25 years old, I wasn't very strategic, but I do think that it's an opportunity in a lot of ways for marketing departments to become smarter in the association land, where you don't have a copywriter, you write the copy. You don't have a campaign planner, you do that. You don't have a media buyer, you do that too. So it is it's interesting to me to think how it might free up people at the sort of entry level or 2 to 5 year career to be able to participate more. And with the younger generations, that's all they want to do. They want to participate more in the thinking part of the job. They don't, the millennials kind of become famous for always wanting to have a seat at the table and having their voice heard. And the grownups in the room were like, no, we just need you to generate stuff. We don't really want to talk to you that much. We just want you to do stuff because we don't want to have to do the stuff. And because we did the stuff already. So I do think that that's kind of an interesting thing about how we deploy that to make marketing staffs more effective.
Yeah, I think small organizations especially are going to see the benefits of it, because you're absolutely right. It's churn and burn. It's, we used to joke around that there was no lull anymore, right? You would be planning for your annual meeting, and then you'd have this month or two lull afterwards. That's gone. Everybody just feels like there's so much more that they need to be doing. And back in the day, we used to be marketing. Now you've got marketing and content creation, content strategy, and trying to figure out how to leverage all the stuff that your association is creating and developing. And I think it will definitely allow staff to work smarter, not harder. I think there are ways that staff could be using these tools. I mean, you mentioned the annual meeting. Imagine having a bot on the website, that the chat functionality that can intelligently answer the questions that your members type in. Which convention is it going to be at? What time is this particular session, or what time is so-and-so speaking? And it just kicks out the answer. So your site visitors aren't spending time trying to get through your site. There are ways, content teams can be using it. As we talked about earlier, it's just going to be a matter of setting some guidelines in terms of, who's going to be responsible for validating the accuracy of the content, and giving staff the time they need to be strategic. I love that. I think that's fantastic. I think we could all use a little more time in our day. And if we can use technology to create that bandwidth, I think it's going to be really beneficial.
Yeah, and another implication I was thinking about when we were talking earlier is about photography. I feel like marketers spend a lot of time looking through stock photos, trying to find the photo for their industry, especially in association land. Like, it has to be in this kind of setting. And unfortunately, they don't take a lot of pictures of people in this setting, and you don't always have the budget or the time to do a photo shoot. So the fact that it can put settings and people together, it's interesting, especially if you don't have in-house graphic design.
Yeah, I agree. I hadn't thought about that application, but now that you got me thinking about it, I'm like, oh man, you're absolutely right. There would be so many wonderful opportunities to showcase if you do, for example, let's just kind of talk this through, right? So if you do a photo booth and you allow your members to come and have their headshots taken, maybe you do a couple group shots or whatever, being able to take those photos and superimpose those onto whatever background you need, that could really elevate your association marketing, because then your members see themselves and they see their friends. And I think that's the challenge with the association space, is because we always tried to stay away from stock photography. We wanted it to look very genuine, very authentic. And I think, when photos are so well composed, you can tell they're stock. And so this opportunity to generate photos of members in environments that you need for the promotions that you've got coming up could be really cool.
Yeah, or even just, I worked in supply chain, and there are no photos of a supply chain, right?
Yeah.
And, we'd be searching for people, and if they were in like a warehouse, they always had like a vest on and a hard hat, but we were trying to promote like sort of a high, in some cases, like a higher level executive managing supply chain. They make really good money. They're, have master's degrees, and it was the impossible dream, right?
Yeah.
It was like if you found one, I would find one and I'd put it on like a pull-up for a conference or something, and then I get a call from a member because I'm like, my company stole your photo. I'm like, no, they didn't steal my photo. It's just the only one, so they're using it too.
Yeah. We used to have that in healthcare. It was a running joke of try to find a photo of a healthcare worker who doesn't have a stethoscope.
Right.
So the opportunity. And so then you talk to your graphic designer and be like, yeah, get rid of the stethoscope and, flex your Photoshop skills.
Yeah. It's so true. The other thing that, I think we to talk about is SEO and keyword research and that kind of thing. One of our colleagues was using it for keyword research, and she told me the list wasn't perfect, but it sure was easy. And to get a solid list once I eliminated some of the things it pulled.
Yeah. I can see that being beneficial. I still go old school a little bit. I'm using plugins for, Chrome to give keyword recommendations and looking at competitor websites and all of that. But we're seeing more of an evolution on the SEO site. And there's a lot of news right now about people who are using AI to boost their organic search rank, using the recommendations that AI has generated. So I definitely see AI playing a role in that space as well and helping organizations, because it's not easy to rank high, right? It's a challenge. And if you're using a technology that's constantly learning, it'll constantly give you ways to boost your performance. So yeah, I think it's something that marketers should be watching and learning about. And it's we talked a little bit about bandwidth and how nobody feels like they have the bandwidth. So how do you use a tool like this to create bandwidth so you can monitor the tool as it advances and then implement whatever it is that's new?
Yeah, absolutely. Thing to be a caution on using it for research, though, is if you use it and you put in proprietary information, that information becomes part of the intelligence of the tool. So you have to be careful. I heard from a colleague that I don't want to say the company, but a large technology company they were testing it and they were testing some of their code, and suddenly their code was on the internet because they put it in there. So they're early adopters, good for them, trying to figure it out, but that was a risk they hadn't contemplated.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, whatever tool it is that you're using, understanding what data they're capturing based on how you're using it, where are their servers stored, how secure are they? And I'm not a tech person, and those questions come to my mind. So, it's one of those, you don't know what you don't know. So just kind of tread lightly and see how other people are using it and see how people are getting themselves into trouble based on how they're using it. But yeah, I think, getting back to that sort of digital marketing angle, I think there are definitely opportunities. You could take a look at your competitors' websites and say, hey, what keywords are these sites optimized for? Or how can I generate a feature-rich snippet for my page based on, this term, whatever the case may be. It's got its benefits.
Yeah, I think the competitor research, like you could do a SWOT with the AI.
Oh yeah.
Think about how many times as a marketer you have to do a SWOT.
Yeah.
And it takes hours really to do a really good one, and you could get a major head start using AI to do that.
Yeah.
And I also think about marketing results. That's the one thing for marketers, because marketing is an art and a science, is trying to figure out what you accomplished and report that up to your CEO. And I think AI could actually help you quantify your results and express them. I don't think that sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. I think there's going to be, like, as it's growing so quickly, I think companies are going to start sort of bringing their own AI to the table.
Yeah.
So marketing agencies, ad agencies, they're always trying to show their value, right? So if they have their own internal AI, they can actually start to, kind of do what like the Google Data Studio does, but even better. and more quickly, I think that's an opportunity for marketers too.
Yeah.
I mean, you just much.
Yeah. Yeah. Even looking at the difference between ChatGPT when it launched and Google's Bard, I mean, they're very different. And so
tell me about that. I just got into Bard. Tell me what you've noticed.
I haven't done too deep of a dive into it, to be honest with you. I just started reading about that about a week ago. But from what I'm understanding, they are very different. But they both learn. The more they're used, the more they learn. And now you've got people who are taking that, and like, as I mentioned earlier, you've got people who can generate images and video and audio. So it's this sort of endless opportunity, the sky's the limit. And I hate to be the one who's cynical, but I really do worry, that in the wrong hands, it could be dangerous. But, I think it'll benefit a lot of organizations if they embrace it and their marketing teams embrace it, as opposed to looking for ways to sort of avoid its use. I mean, I think use of it is inevitable. And it is a tool that can create bandwidth and can be used in smart ways.
Yeah. And I think it's going to be the next generation. He's going to show us how, because they're all, like you mentioned earlier, like kids are writing essays using AI.
Yeah.
And someone told me a story recently that it was a senior almost done with school, senioritis. So he handed an essay and told his teacher he used AI to write it. And she congratulated him on his innovation. So, they're going, the 17, 18-year-olds are going into college with this already in their experience set.
Yeah.
And, how does that impact what they're going to bring into business? Right.
Yeah, it's, think of what the world's going to look like 10 years from now, and what jobs are going to look like 10 years from now, and what will be acceptable and what won't be acceptable. Yeah, it's interesting.
Well, Amy, thank you so much for chatting with me about this. I feel like we should talk again in 6 months and
see how the world has changed.
Yes, we'll probably listen to this and go, wow, we had no idea what was going to happen. So,
yes, I agree. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Amy.
We hope you enjoyed this episode and discovered tips and information that will add value to your leadership style and your association. orgSource specializes in positioning teams for success with solutions for technology, strategy, and marketing. Please contact us at info@orgsource.com or visit www.orgsource.com to find out how to keep your organization on track to Association 4.0.